Pretty words.
There we go.
You record to the computer?
No, I went to the club. Good.
The clown? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, my goodness. Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to talk about power raising. And this kind of flows through from the last class that I did with cleansing and circle casting, because they all kind of go hand in hand. So the cleansing and the circle casting are what will be the base for power raising. Right? So power raising is pretty much, it's what witches do, right? I mean, we cast spells, we throw balls of energy. We know what the lotto numbers are. Somebody tell me after class. I would appreciate it.
Tell nobody.
Tell nobody but me. All right. But seriously, it's what is it and how do we actually do it? So first, personal opinion is that it's kind of a misnomer. It's not power raising. We're not raising power. We're not FPL. It's energy raising. So we're taking the energies that are around us, within us, that surround us through our beliefs, through nature, through our gods, and we are using those, bending them, you might say, to do our will. Okay? But how do we do that? There's a bunch of different ways to do it. One of the ways, it's energy work. One of the ways we do this, prime example, we just did it, I warned you this was coming, is our healing spell that we do every single week. Okay? So if you think about it, what we're doing, what Alba does, is leads us into a guided meditation. Where we raise those energies, we collect them. She helps to form them. She helps to release them and send them out where we need it. And that is the essence of what we do. That's a group example, but we can do those things individually or as a group. Okay? Another type of energy raising, you might say, and this one it's famous for some, not so famous for others, but it was literally called Operation Tongue of Power. I knew somebody would know this one. A couple of people know this one. So this comes from Gerald Gardner.
Happened in 1939.
Nope, 1940, but you're close.
1 year old. Okay.
I started thinking about it.
It did. So it happened right after Dunkirk. So Dunkirk, anybody who paid attention to the movie, you know it all of it. No, just kidding. So in Dunkirk, the British forces were literally pushed off into the sea by the Nazi invasion forces. And literally, the only thing stopping the Nazi invasion forces was this little tiny strip of water, a little bit of ocean, to getting to the British Isles, and taking them over. Correct, straight. Now, when the British left, they left everything they needed to defend their own country, except for the people. They got all. They left everything. They left their weapons, they left their supplies, they left their vehicles, everything was left behind. So not only now do the Nazis have their supplies, they've got the supplies of the British Army as well. So you know what? It's imminent. Britain's going to fall. Blitzkrieg started. It's going to happen. So August 1st, 1940, according to Gerald Gardner, there are a couple of folks that will say that it wasn't him, it was Aleister Crowley or a few others, but the intent is the same. A group of 17 people gathered in a pine forest outside of, where is it? Highcliffe on the Sea, right? In southern England, on the southern English coast. Right? And there, skyclad, which means naked, they performed the cone of power ritual with the express intent of simply convincing Hitler that he couldn't do it. It wasn't to stop anyone else. It wasn't to hurt. It wasn't to hurt anyone else. It wasn't to disable equipment, but it was with the express intent to convince Hitler mentally that he couldn't do it, that it wouldn't succeed. So it was to cast out his mind. One way or another, the plan never did come to fruition. Their plan was called Operation Sea Lion. They were all set and ready to go, but for whatever reason, just one obstacle after another kept coming up, stopping them, and never pulled the trigger. Now, like a lot of things, can you say that that is what did it? No. You can point to a million other things. You can point to lack of planning over here. All the obstacles that happen. How do those obstacles come apart? Become.
But whatever they intended happened.
So at the end of the day, the intent was fulfilled.
Well, you can actually see the direct correlation because not only the intent, but as we say, the argument could be made that we don't know if it actually happened, but you can take into account people who were at that incantation, all that cone of power ritual, and document that the people who were participating, each of
Only
those
60
people,
left to come.
all those people, they died in early death. So the argument had been made that they
No.
expended all of their life energy to the most part to make that happen.
Only one died.
Hmm.
One died that night.
Let's let Jen know.
Yes.
They all did eventually. They all did eventually.
They're all dead now.
They are now. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, there's absolutely no scientific proof that energy works. Okay? But religions all across the world, every religion talks about what? The power of
Right.
prayer, miracles, power of mind, power of thought. Mind over that, thank you, yep. Sorry.
Oh, my.
No, that's perfect, that's perfect, okay? So, us as pagans, we do the exact same thing, but we just dare call it magic. For many years, it was magic. Now science has come along, but if you ask me, science is very magical in itself. Yes, sir.
Famous quote.
Mhm.
Magic is science that hasn't been defined yet.
True. Okay. So we're going to start with some basics. We'll be talking about power raising or energy work. One of the big things, and we all know this line, right? Harm none, do as you will. What does that mean to you? Andrew, what does that mean to you?
Well, on the surface, it sounds easy, but like anything else, it could have subtle layers and complications. For me, the whole idea of harm none, as long as it's, so one has to be selective, at least for me, right? So it's clearly, I'm not going to be destroying couches and whatnot.
Harm none.
Harm none. Is that a person? No, it's not, but the person who owns the couch, obviously. But so for me, that's always been okay. Well, yes, on the surface, as long as it's not hurting anybody, then do what you will. However, can we really honestly say that our act, that would be perfect if we live in a bubble, but we don't. So anything we do actually affects us, how our cells in our bodies actually take into account and harm other cells to get things working in our bodies. So for me, it's
Safe to say it's complicated.
It's complicated.
that would be the way.
It's complicated.
You know what it means
It's
to
very.
me?
Go ahead.
It means to me that you should think about the consequences of your actions.
There you
It
go.
means that you should consider that when you're wishing and hoping and doing magic. And not so much because it's going to come back to you threefold or whatever, it's just that you want to put it out there in the best possible way. So to harm none, do as you will, it just means think about what you're doing. Do whatever you're doing consciously and be ready for consequences.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Think it through to the end.
Absolutely.
Well, I was gonna say though, because like I stated before, I'm Christo Pagan, and that's kind of like the golden rule of Christianity, where it's very similar. That's why, like when I tell people it's like Christianity, it's just paganism. It really is. I love it because they suffer. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, that's why I tell people it's basically the golden rule. It's like do whatever you want, but with the intention. Now, obviously, is there going to be the river effect and the ripples, and are things going to happen that you necessarily didn't intend to happen? Of course, because that's with everything in life. That's just how it is. But in the grand scheme of things, it's more about intent. Whereas, do whatever you plan on doing just with the intent of having good in mind and not wanting to harm someone else. Whether or not you believe in the threefold law or not, depending on whatever you practice, that it's still good in from a moral stance of you obviously wouldn't want to hurt another human being, just out of either accidentalness or just out of spite, because eventually, even if you do it out of spite, it's all going to come back to you anyway.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, my feeling on it is it's a lot like Elvis, honestly. Harm, do as you will, harm none, is not the freedom to do, like you've all said, it's not the freedom to do anything you want, just because you can. It's not. It is actually, they say, great responsibility, great power comes with great responsibility.
Hello, Spider-Man.
Right? Yeah, there's all that kind of stuff.
I actually
Marvel's
have
about that.
to add. In a lot of the traditions I come from, we talk about balance.
Correct.
And it's not the same, but it's a little bit different because if something is justified, let's say if a soul was murdered, you have to do something to release that soul.
Mhm.
And you have to balance, and sometimes you have to do things that if it's justified, you can do it, but if not, if you don't take it to spirit, if you don't double check it, prepare for the consequences of the unbalance of the scales.
Exactly. So it's the same, it's not quite the same, but it's very similar.
Yes.
You have to be aware of the
Like the
process.
feather of not.
Okay?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
So-
more
A big question that you should put to yourself always before performing any energy work: are you trying to subjugate someone else? Are you trying to interrupt their free will? Let's talk about love spells. Everybody, as soon as they find out, oh, can you do it?
No,
No, doesn't work like that.
just be your charming
I've
self.
seen enough,
Exactly,
I've seen
and
enough
I'm-
movies.
You work
to
on
be
yourself.
I'll do grammar spells.
Correct, work on yourself instead.
I'll do
So-
grammar spells, but.
I mean, like-
Always think long and hard before you decide on the course of action. And examine all the sides of the outcomes. Okay? And because today's lack of rain, because you didn't want it to rain today, can actually lead to tomorrow's drought. And those are things you must consider. Yes, sir.
So for me, how should I say? I understand and I practice that. However, for me, I also tend to practice the other aspect. I've always felt that magic is just one of the tools and one of the ways we do it. So on the one hand, yes, it's justified. Yes, in an abuse situation, in self-defense kind of thing, yes, I am knowingly trying to alter that situation. However, if it is justified, if it's for the greater good, if I'm trying to
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
exactly,
There you go. Put in some Star Trek language.
I will accept, I will accept a small evil for the greater good over a small good for the greater evil.
But another thing with love spells too, when you do perform them, you want to make sure if you do it, and it is an option.
Mhm.
After you justify the
After
work.
you've thought through your hard run.
You gotta make sure you do it correctly because they tend to bounce and you don't want to
Absolutely.
stalker.
well, there
So-
I
That's where I
So
was
here-
going.
So just moving forward, I mean, these are all really good points, but we can spend the entire night, we really can, on this one thing.
On morals.
Because that's exactly what it is, and everyone's are a little bit different.
Magical morals, that's another. big
It's a
thing.
Yes.
whole nother presentation, okay? So, but that is first and foremost, when we're talking about energy work, that we should bear in mind, okay? Second thing we should always bear in mind is clarity. So a clarity of thought and clarity of action. Know what you want to achieve, okay? Who knows the tale of the monkey's hands?
Yep.
Oh.
monkey paw.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
monkey's
the monkey
paw.
paw, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it goes a million different ways. The lady wishes she had all the money she needed. 10 minutes later, there's a knock on the door and her son is dead. She receives his life insurance.
Yeah.
She got what she needed. She got what she asked for. But did she really have the clarity of thought when she did that?
I mean,
Right?
Yeah.
So it's,
that's,
cautionary tale.
that is, but I got more out of it to say, be specific with what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
specific.
And as
Be
detailed as
specific.
possible.
Yes.
Yeah, I still get.
One of my
Terms
favorite,
of
one of my
agreements.
favorite little cartoons actually is the Wizard with damn that cursive because it was lemon is the.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I know the lemon.
Genie's wishes.
Yeah, Genie's wishes, exactly, Genie's wishes. Next, always want to know your intended target. Okay, and I'm gonna say this one. So when an evangelist walks up to you, just for whatever reason, I'm praying for your soul that you'll be saved from this. How does that feel to you?
Yeah.
Very
Feels like an attack,
condescending.
right?
yeah.
It does though.
Their intent, they might think they're not harming anyone, they might think they're doing a good thing, but they obviously didn't know their intended target, right, to understand that. Right? It is an attack. It can be viewed that way.
And not only that,
So
but
what
who's
do
saying
you do? Exactly. So what you do with energy work, know your intended target. Does that person really want that? Should it be, give me one moment, should it really be targeted towards them? Or maybe we could consider placing it in a well and say, hey, I have cached this energy for you. If you'd like it, this is where you'll find it. Place it in an object that can be accepted or rejected without harm to either person. Okay, yes, go ahead.
I'm not a confrontational person.
Okay.
I've never been. I'm not quick to react maybe 10 hours later.
I think of the greatest thing I should have said.
But and maybe that's why I never felt judged or anything like that, because I always took it whatever they say doesn't matter.
Right.
And even someone that I'm gonna be saved by that, you know, I said, oh, that's great, thank you very much, you know, and I let mother do her work, just as that, because the intentions of them, they might be seeing me in a different way, but they want something good on their eyes. But at the end of the day, that's what they believe. So,
And
is it gonna hurt me? Whatever they say, it's not gonna hurt me. So.
it depends on your individual. At the end of the day, I'd say you're one of the lucky ones that can filter that to take.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
And not everyone can.
I never hid in a closet. I was always
There are other
out,
places.
and maybe because I come from very supportive people around me, or I never saw it otherwise. That any stranger comes along and tells the other one, okay. Thank you.
That's
A blessing on your house as well.
exactly. Take the good, leave the bad if you're the target. But like I said, not everybody has the ability to do that. And if they don't see it coming,
I had
because sometimes it can affect people. You know, you think you're doing it on the quiet, the down low, and the slide, and they're like, maybe you just gave a little too much, you hit them a little too hard, and it just affects them the wrong way.
just a
Yes.
quick story.
Sure.
I just walked out. It was a 20 miles walk
Mm-hmm.
that I did, and it was on my last 5 miles. And all of a sudden, this woman just comes to me, and end up saying that she, you know, she's a evangelic, and what church do you attend in Coconut Creek? I was like, oh, I'm a part of a coven. She looks at me, yeah, which is stuff like that, you know. I tell her, you know, just a little bit. She didn't know. She knew perfectly fine what I was talking about, and she kept trying to talk to me on it, you know. And I had to tell her, listen, you're walking, we're doing the same thing. We're both doing the same thing, trying to finish the thing, so we're not any different.
After 15 miles, you wanted to talk about.
First of all, I just wanted to get to the end, so I wanted to shut her off. I didn't want to listen what she wanted to say, whatever, when she needed to speak to me because she felt like I'm safe.
Now, with me, human radicals and Christians don't bother me unless they try to give me a certain item. It's a blanket.
Okay. Understandable.
Because blankets in the Native community is not a good idea to give,
No,
especially from Christians.
yeah.
Highly understandable.
That's when I was
Yes.
like,
Very loaded.
thank you.
More ways than one.
But they didn't understand because they were I didn't know which country they were from, but they were a Latina based group, and I had to explain to them it is offensive because they didn't know. They didn't know, but I didn't take blanket.
No, understand. So, one of the other next to last thing we need to consider is the place, space. So you should always be working in a safe space. So this comes back to the circle casting and cleansing the circle casting, especially if you're new to energy work. You always want to be in a very safe, grounded place. So we talked about how if you're not careful with building your circle or dismissing the elements called spoken with, they can kind of run amok on you. You know, they can run around your house or whatever the case may be and cause their own issues along the way. The exact same thing can happen with those energies. So if you're unfamiliar with working with them, or you're new to it, or you simply reached a little bit beyond what you currently are able to do, you need to be in a place that's safe where you can be comfortable, you can ground yourself, and the space itself will help you do those things. So help keep you calm
I completely agree. I think that for those of us who may be able to live, pagan household kind of thing, besides the normal house blessings and things of that nature in place, boards of protection, making sure the entire house is safe, everything is part two of that, I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But,
Oh, no,
sorry, to add to that, be careful if you're going to an already established place. Because if you're setting up wards, you might affect their wards.
Correct.
Well, I always think that there's no safer space in this.
Mhm.
No matter where I am, no matter where it is. And I had to practice that a lot in Mexico. Practice.
That's next.
And it worked every single time. I feel it was coincidence. I don't know. It came with we didn't have any money, and the electricity went off and on, and the car wouldn't run. How do I pay?
Yep.
I have to say that every time I'm just finishing my bills, and just it's come back. I wasn't in bed. We went through with the credit. The food, the gas, the gas. After waiting 20 minutes to get gas, trying to get to the airport, they're not working. I was like, what they call? I was like, what the hell? Can't do that. But we were able to pay. And again, it's just, I don't think, I understand trying to be safe, but in case of emergency,
Right.
don't forget that close your eyes and there's no
That is a safer
space, safer space.
And
So-
the best way to, the way I do it when I ground myself in like really stressful situations, I remember my 5 senses.
Yep.
You always remember the 5 senses rule, where basically, you think of something you can see, like in your, wherever you're at, and then you think of something you can smell, something you hear, something you feel. That way it kind of brings you back to your reality of where you are currently at, because it's like they always teach you that, like you've got like people who have panic attacks. Use those tools so that way, because people with panic attacks, they'll think that whatever flashback they're having in their mind, they think that that's actually going on in their head in that moment, because that's all they're consumed with is that memory or that thought, and they can't get past that. And so usually for me, I have to sit outside or sit on a chair. I have to sit somewhere, and I have to mentally think in my head all 5 senses, and then usually that grounds me enough to get me out of whatever headspace my brain was in.
That's good.
And then
It's very good. It's a very good way to do it. So then lastly, the last thing we need to consider is practice. And like you said, practice. Practice makes perfect. Doorways and pathways, the more you do this, more doors and more pathways begin to open up, it becomes easier each and every time. So everybody think back to the first time, you came to the circle meeting and you're like, okay, we're gonna do the healing ritual, we're gonna say our healing spell. And the first time it was like, okay. And the second time and the third time becomes easier and easier each time, right? The more you attend, the easier it is to find that peace, that space, and to bring it forward and to contribute. So it's practice makes perfect.
I've always viewed it as magical muscles.
Absolutely.
So you want to.
So, yeah, so you can, remember this though, no matter how much you do this, you can't let yourself run dry. Okay? Nobody lives off of an empty well.
says that you can't drink from an empty cup.
It just doesn't happen. If you don't keep some for yourself, you let it all go all the time, pretty soon you're just gonna
Is
be.
it that
dry
story
across.
that you read the rainbow fish?
Yep.
Where the little fish would give out all 3 scales, everybody's like, oh, you have a 3 scale. All right,
Pretty soon
and
had
then all of a sudden, the
Yes.
fish had nothing left.
Right,
That's why we take a deep breath in before we clap.
yes.
I hope everybody's really doing that, taking what they need first. before they clap.
So just a couple of my favorite quotes, and these actually come out of my own personal book of shadows. One about magic. And so when one brings about a change in any condition by ritual means, magic has been worked. In order to bring about a change, all the circumstances must be known. And magic can be worked for good or ill, as a creative force can work for either purpose, but the witch must abide the issue. The issue meaning what comes forth from that, right? Those are from a dear tribe-mate that was actually passed on. And then another, and this is actually from a Gardnerian outer court from about 1975. Still relevant today. Magic is our gift from the goddess. Our power is blended with the power of the gods. We must give power to them in order to receive power from them. Our gods need us as much as we need them. So if we don't feed that divine within, we'll never be able to enact it out. So things to think about before we begin any magical or energy workings. Okay? Are you ready to abide your consequences? Have you thought through your actions? And are you taking as you're given, balancing it, like you said, not going over one or the other? Okay? There's all these bunch of different ways to do this, right? And we talk about some basics. Meditation is always the first, and I love this. I warned out beforehand to talk about it. Okay. So the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Of course, when we talk about that. During this meditation, Alba works kind of like almost like a gatekeeper. This is the way I see this. If not, I'll let you. I see it. It's almost she acts almost as a gatekeeper. She's a guide and a gatekeeper. She talks. She settles us all down, grounds us. Talks about reaching down to those roots and pulling them up, and bringing that energy together, drawing it into yourself, sitting with it for a minute, thinking about our purpose, who we want this to affect. Taking that pause, those deep breaths beforehand, and instructing us, hold on to what you need. Very important. Instruct yourself to do that. And then through the final release. So the final release being the clap, and off she sends it. So but again, it is practice makes perfect. Okay, and it's an interesting role. Very interesting role. So that is one way as a group, and that helps to build. So meditation to me builds that nice, quiet, strong, purposeful, long-term energies. So that's right. This is for the go. This is for the go, 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 go. It's going to hold me out till next week. It's going to last. Okay. Becomes, and again, always when doing this too, remember, keep that inner row full. So chanting or singing, this is actually one of my favorites. I don't sing work really, and sort of voice work. I do like the chanting, especially when you're doing a point and a counterpoint. And one of my particular favorites is the goddess name. So Isis started, and you can change the pace up and down. And then the counterpoint, we all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. So it creates this, and then with the counterpoint of the names in the background. Oh, there's some chills. Oh, seriously, guys, wow, that was good. So,
So it was a knee-jerk to join in.
I know, right? It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. So it's very inclusive, but you can feel it as it pulls up. And then with the counterpoint, it gives kind of like an ebb and flow. And then especially with chanting, speeding it up, decreasing the volume, and it makes it crescendo. And this is, to me, this is very much that active in the now energy for a very specific purpose to get something done now. Okay. Dancing is another one. Amethyst, I know you love the dancing. Highly effective. To me, this is a quick energy, almost chaotic energy. And again, for an in the now, things that need to be done, almost a sense of worship. And it's one of those very strong. And you can start slow and build it up, and slow it back down if you need to. So you get to the point where you need that. Sunday night drumming. I have a feeling there's one or two people in this room that really like that. little bit.
Yeah,
And this is
probably has
another-
something to do with it.
This one can go on. This is, to me, drumming and using noise is an extended energy level. It can go on for as long as it needs to. It really can. It's that calming rhythm, that heartbeat. It can be chaotic if you need it. If that's the type of energy you need. It can be calming. It can be steady. It can be anywhere in between.
Is it like similar to crystals?
Yes, it's still a noise making. It's still a vibrational. It's a vibrational type of energy. I mean, that's the
Sign to let the gods know we're here. Why you
Yes,
shake cisterns, make rattles, raise your voice.
that's right. There's the most important. Any of these can, actually, any of these. Can. And trance work. Trance work could be highly effective on a solo scale, in my experience. But until you are very comfortable with it, I would not recommend starting solo.
What is transfer?
So trance work is moving into an other space, moving yourself from your body.
Okay.
So similar to astral, yeah, astral
Well,
projection.
astral projection.
This is something that leads to a drawing down. Okay, so it can lead there. Basically, it's a removal from self and allowing other energies to take over. This can be very, very positive. It can be very negative.
Usually
You
you
have
want
to be
to,
very careful.
usually
So
if
you would
you're
never
gonna
want to
do
do it.
that, I was gonna say, if you're gonna do that, I would like say a prayer or do something ahead of time to only allow energies
And
that
that's-
you're
that's-
allowed, that you
That's
want
where the
in.
practice comes in.
Yeah.
That's where the practice comes in. And again, this is not something that you would want to start doing by yourself. This is something you would want to do with a trusted partner, a very trusted partner, someone that you know can help you move out from there. Okay.
That sounds a lot like journey in the native tradition, is that when you do your journeying for the first few times, you need to have someone,
A watcher.
an elder or a watcher, because we have something that we do with the rest that if something happens, we pull them back out.
Yes. Very.
Like trips.
No.
Kind of like
It's a rope around the
Which,
waist.
all of this.
It's like that rope, when you put the rope around your waist, going down, the rope,
Yeah.
like going down around.
So-
Bungee cord.
This was just
What if the cord breaks?
This is what needs the last thing, is grounding. So before you get started into any of this, what's your grounding point? Sorry. No, what's your grounding point? Everybody's got their own grounding point. And Kimmy, you had a great, talking about the five senses. You know that already. You rattled it all. You got it. So you know what your grounding point is.
It's reminded that I'm here now.
Correct. So,
I can breathe, I can see it, hear, I can touch. So I'm here.
yes.
And the last one is, well, you have also the other one too is self, and just trying to pull the other ones together.
So it's very, the grounding part of it to me is one of the most important, probably the thing you should do first. Learn how to calm yourself down before anything else. So way back when I was a little pagan, 90 something. I used to go to, yeah, that's used to go to Dragon Fest, which luckily it's still going on. It's wonderful up in the Colorado mountains. Oh, it's fantastic. It is wonderful. It really is. It's somewhere around the lake. It's like a week long camping kind of thing. It's just a ton of fun. It's 80, 90 degrees during the day, and it's 34 at night because you're up above 10,000 feet. It's crazy.
Always wanted to go.
And yeah, you would love it. So one of the things they would do, one of the rituals they would hold them would be almost like a group drawing down. So you would have a sort of priest or priestesses of their particular path, and they would do their drawing down. They would have sections set up in the woods, and we would all gather in a central communal place. And when someone was ready, they would come out. And if it's your turn to go, you get to go with whoever comes out next. And they take you to their person, whoever that person with their system would be. Now, they're very careful in setting these things up. And I'll share with you my personal experience with this. And everyone might experience it differently. To me, this is very, incredibly interesting. So when I arrived with the priestess that had done her drawing down, and it was Bridget that she had drawn down. It was very, very interesting. Had some wonderful conversation, but the thing that kept drawing my eye behind her, it was very distinct. You can see her support person was literally cradling the person that I was speaking to. So the person standing in front of me, right, her spirit, her essence wasn't there. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind at the time that was the lady there that I was speaking to. But the thing I found most interesting is behind her, that was her support system. I could physically see the presence of that person's body that was in front of me. Presence behind it and carried it. So you just talked about transfer, you talked about grounding. That's important. That person hadn't been there to support her. Where would that essence be? But beyond that, so it's a very intense experience when you're speaking directly to your order, your lady. It's just very intense. And from there, when you're done speaking and they lead you out, they have a person, they have a group of people, and it is their specific job to calm them down. It's a very specific job. I'll never forget the other thing I'll never forget about that night is the lady that calmed me down. She's like, "Oh, you're just so sparkly." It's like, sorry. Yeah, exactly. And it took a lot. It took a lot. And she was there, and she took her time, and she was
It is,
calming.
didn't send you off.
No,
back to your
it just
tent.
probably a good thing. Who knows where it would end up? But she was like, "Oh, you're so sparkly. Look at you. Come on over here. We need to talk." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Just
So
at
it's very altering the
the summer festival, one of the last day was there is wine something ritual. It was we all sat on a circle and we all and spoke to the goddess. And everybody was chanting, which I say that chanting is amazing. So you wouldn't hear what she was telling you.
Right.
And also the same thing had the people, after you talk to her, but whatever she had to say to you to calm you down there or whatever.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. It's pretty intense. It's very intense. It's
Yeah.
very
At FPG, Carl walked on fire.
I can see
He
it.
worked with fire and walked on.
was-
Walked on the fire. And they got everybody ready with a chant.
Yes, we were all in the zone, and I don't know what it was. Something just came. It was literally, it felt like something grabbed my head and said, "You're going." So I just picked up my drum and said, "I'm going to do it." Started playing. I was led by something to do that.
The drum.
something. Something, but it is so energy work, I mean, that is what we do. How we do it. Any questions, comments, additions?
Anybody
Personal experience, anyone?
online got questions? Anything to add? Anyone?
Anyone?
Yes.
Bueller?
The floor is open for questions
Oh,
now.
I want to try to find that channel.
Okay.
Because I know
So,
he emailed it to me.
So when I went and I redid my grandmother's ashes and redid her ceremony and stuff, because she did not have the proper ceremony for the religion she was actually in. When I undid the ashes, they were desecrated. I was like, as soon as I saw it, I realized it's like, once I fix this, there will be a ripple effect. And, like I said, I meditated, I thought about it, and I made sure I weighed all the options. And I was like, it needs to be done because her soul's not at rest. It's not fair to her. And whoever did it, they're going to have to answer the question of why they did it the way they did it.
Right.
And then I will leave it at the ancestors and the spirit's hands to deal with that person.
So this leads us to the very last thing. So why do they call it cone power?
The cone of power.
Yes.
Yay.
I know, right? And the answer is right there in front of you.
That's what's
So, yes. But no, so if we, again, as I said at the beginning, this ties into the first portion I gave about cleansing and casting your circle. So when we talked about casting the circles, building the base, building walls and building up above our head, So that we have our bubble, so as you might call it. So from there, building that, you think about a circle and the funnel effects. So as you're moving, even if you're not dancing, if you're chanting or whatever the case may be, you can almost envision that passing from person to person. I'm sure several of you were at the session when Janine did last. We talked about, passing this hand to hand, and you can feel it moving around, feel it moving through the circle. So the same thing happens, it continues to grow, right? Like a whirlpool, and that creates its own energies. Okay? And you're right, it's that cone effect. Makes that focal point from there, and that's where we launch that. So that's where the term cone power. And that officially brings me to the end of the presentation.
I know it's like I can remember. I go through it because she's been. Maybe if you really you can put a chant for it. And music.
Well, we'll let the musician. She's good at that.
She's been waiting, she's been waiting so long, she's been waiting for her children to remember to return. She's been waiting, she's been waiting so long, she's been waiting for her children to remember to return. Blessed be and blessed are the lovers of the lady. Blessed be, blessed are the maiden mother throne. Blessed be and blessed are the ones who dance together. Blessed be and blessed are the ones who dance alone.
Nice.
That's good, yeah. I can see what that would be. That would be very powerful. So, beautiful, fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
All right, well, if we're done, I will close this. Blow out this candle.
And hold it dear for everyone gathered here. From this grove we do depart, but keep its lessons in our heart.
Blessed be,
So mote it be. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you. Wonderful, Jen.
That was awesome.
Should I stop the recording?
Nice presentation. Thank you.
Recording stop.